Hey guys, we're way back into the Brooklyn Navy Yard. Just some really interesting architecture. It seems like a good place to review these heavy-duty electric bikes. They used to use this space to build ships back in World War I, World War II. I'm here with Chris Nolte from Propel Bikes in Brooklyn.
Hey guys.
You know, it's neat to explore with you, and it sounds like you've got some friends, people who work back here, so we're able to, check it out. Is that the new?
That's a building called a New Lab. It's kind of like a product incubation space. There's all sorts of crazy stuff. They make military equipment. They do like high-powered microscopes, just crazy stuff. They have a $1 million 3D printer. There's all sorts of crazy things going on. A lot of innovation going on.
Kind of like the old with the new.
Yeah, so you have all this space. It was decommissioned in the 1960s, and they're trying to look to reinvigorate this and make it into a new sort of tech hub, I guess. So it's cool to be nearby here and pretty exciting.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, was here maybe a year ago. We were looking at the Nevo from Riese Müller, and now they have a brand new model for 2018. So this is the Riese Müller Nevo GH NuVinci because it's using the continuously variable transmission NuVinci hub. And GH, we were trying to figure out the H. It's like maybe heavy because it's like a heavy duty model.
Yeah, I think you have to use your imagination on that one right now.
Could be like a German word. I don't know. It's a German company, really premium products. This one's rated up to about 353 pounds, whereas most of the other Riese Müller models are rated up to 309 pounds. So you're getting the extra weight capacity. And that's not to say that you couldn't maybe go a little heavier. I personally know people who bought the bike and they weigh a little bit more. But that's what they feel comfortable rating this at. And the big differences between this particular model and some of the others is that they've got this Ergotech bar and stem. You see that 6? 6 is like the highest rating in terms of durability. It's like 1 through 6. And in parts of Europe, I think they have to have a rating of 5 or 6 if it's a speed pedelec. So this is designed to handle higher speeds, higher power. The Nevo GH it only comes with the Bosch Performance Line CX motor. You can't get it with the speed motor. You're only going to be doing up to 20 miles per hour, but that's their high power motor, up to 75 Newton meters of torque. It's really great. And then we've got this awesome suspension fork. This is an air fork, whereas some of the others are spring, and air lets you adjust just kind of how hard it is, how the tension. It tends to be a little bit lighter weight, although this bike does weigh a little bit more than the other Nevos, in part because it's the larger frame. We're weighing it, it's like 61.8 pounds, so a little bit heavier. I think the others were like that 58 pounds, but it comes in 2 sizes. Do you remember the 2 sizes, Chris?
Yeah, so this one here is a 56 centimeter. It's also available in a 47 centimeter. And now another addition for 2018 is now they have a 43 centimeter with a 26-inch wheel. So there's 3 different wheel sizes. There's all sorts of different options now.
So let's break this down. So again, this line of bikes, the Nevo, is pretty popular, I think, because it's easy to approach. It's got that really deep kind of a wave design, so you don't have to swing your leg way up high or over the back, especially with this rack. I really like this, actually. It only says it's rated to 20 kilograms, whereas a lot of the racks in the United States are rated to 25, but it has this nice Bibia adjustable rubber strap. You've got this pannier blocker right here, and it matches the frame design. It's just a high quality, and it connects to the fender so that the fender's not going to rattle as much. These fenders are a bit wider. I'm going to come back to the tires and all that stuff in a minute, but just as a platform, the Nevo seems really approachable. It comes in a few different colors, like this dark blue, red, white, which we appreciate over here, red, white, and blue, having fun. But it's just kind of like they've blown it out. Can you describe the different models?
Right. Yeah, so historically there was just a 28-inch wheel like this. This is a standard Nevo, and it's available in the medium and the large size, 47 and 53 centimeter frames. So now for this year, they made the standard Nevo also available in a small size, which is a 26-inch wheel.
Okay.
They've also added this wider wheel, which is the GH model, or you can also get it with the GT high speed. And then those bikes, the GT high speed and the GH are available as NuVinci.
Okay.
Or you can get the NuVinci on this bike either with the CX or the high speed model. And then you have two other options, would be the Touring. You could do the Touring or the Touring High Speed. And those will be available with the 28 or the 26-inch wheel. So you could only do the Touring or the 28 or the 26-inch wheel, not the GT or the GH model.
So what I'm hearing is there's like 6 different options.
That's right.
And you either have the Touring, which are 10-speed Shimano Dior,
Yep.
or you start to jump into the NuVinci, which is the continuously variable. It's a little bit heavier, but you can shift at any time. It's really great with a mid-drive because there's no mashing or anything. Or you can say, hey, I want those plus, well, not really plus-size tires, but a little bit fatter, a little bit burlier. They're going to give you some comfort and stability, and that's what we're looking at with the GT or the GH. Does that sound right, Chris?
Exactly right. Yep.
Okay, great. You know, the Riese Müller website's really good. But it's neat to have a couple of bikes on hand to see, like visually these look very similar, but then when you start to zoom in, you're like, oh, that one has a Satori suspension seat post, whereas this one has a little bit heavier duty Cane Creek Thudbuster ST. The ST means short travel, but it actually has a really long seat post. So you could raise this up if you're someone who's super tall. And again, this is like the heavier duty, it's the large frame size. It's a really nice setup. One thing I've noticed about the Nevo in particular is that, I don't know if it's the way that they've designed the frame, I haven't been able to look inside of this, but I'm imagining that it's very well reinforced, because I'm not feeling much frame flex. And a lot of times on these wave frames, you feel a little bit of wobble, sometimes even speed wobble where the front wheel's shaky. Not the case here. This feels very good. You're still getting comfort, 70 millimeters of travel on that fork. You've got compression adjust with lockout. We've got rebound adjust at the bottom. Coming back here, the suspension seat post, but also a gel saddle. This one's from Selle Royale. Do really good stuff. And then the tires. So this is 27.5 by, I think, what was it, 2.4.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? So yeah, I mean, it's definitely the Schwalbe Supermoto X. They're really high quality tires, and they have the Performance Line green guard, so puncture protection. They also have the reflective sidewall stripe on the side. We've got these really wide Alex rims, the MD40s, 40 millimeters. I mean, it's just, they're using all the right parts here. And you've got this belt drive. So coming back to durability, belt drives tend to last a little longer than chains even. And you've got an adjustment here so you can bring the wheel back and kind of keep that belt tight. It's not going to be bouncing around, creating a lot of noise. It's going to be clean. And they've got this little chain guard, kind of a protector going on there. So if you are wearing pants or a skirt or something like that, it's going to just slough over it, but it should be clean nonetheless. And then the continuously variable transmission, they do a really good job, but it has like some fluid in it, and there are these balls, and there's kind of like a ramp that's what's creating the differential between how you're pedaling and how the wheel is receiving power. Similar situation up here. So with the Bosch Performance Line motors, you've actually got a smaller sprocket right there. A traditional size sprocket would, it'd be quite large. What they're doing is converting 2.5 times revolution into one single crank arm revolution. So there's like a gearbox in there, and it makes it very responsive. It gives you good hold and grab on the chain or on a belt, but there is a little bit more resistance in there, and it produces some more noise. So the Bosch CX motor, it's a little bit higher power, and that's gonna, it's part of it's like helping you climb. It's kind of a mountain bike motor,
right. But
you do hear a little bit of whining. We'll probably see that a little bit later. Speaking of noise, we have this big gate. I mean, is this just doing itself? Is it the wind?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's haunted. I don't. Maybe
it's interested. It's like coming towards us. As long as a big gust doesn't like slack that against us. Other neat call-outs here is we have this ABUS frame lock, so you can pull that down and a rod slides through. It's kind of a quick lock. Oh boy, there we go. We've got that rack that I was talking about before, integrated lights, top light, mini, and then up front we have the Supernova. This is the E3 e-bike V6S, 165 lumens. So I was talking about the reflective sidewalls before. You also have good awareness or lights going on in the front and the back, making this an excellent commuter. It's what I consider like a feature complete electric bike, except they don't have a bottle cage bosses. That's, you hear me say that occasionally.
Always letting you down, Corey.
I know, right? It seems like right here they could have had some. Yes, it's a little bit vulnerable. You could kick it if you're stepping through, but at the same time, it gives you the choice, like with a folding lock or maybe a bottle cage or a mini pump or something. So
I have found some people are wedging them underneath here that you can.
They put them sideways
do that
and
pretty
they wedge
easily.
it in?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting thing. It's just kind of that user, like, you just see people just naturally doing it. I mean, I don't know if that was an intention, but it seems to work for that. So
yeah,
consideration.
Better than nothing. Better than holding it and trying to steer. And then down here we've got the saddle rails. So sometimes you have adapters. You can put a bottle cage back there or like a cup holder setup up here. The cockpit's pretty clean. I like that the display panel is removable along with the battery pack, so if you are using this to commute, you can take the vulnerable bits off, and then the parts that do stay, like this light, I mean, that's a metal housing and it's bolted on, so it's not going to get lifted or bent as easily as like a plastic one. Magura MT4 hydraulic disc brakes with adjustable reach levers. These are very nice. Magura does a good job, and that piston is like vertical versus horizontal, so I think it gives you really smooth but also very powerful braking power. Are these 65 millimeter width on those fenders? Yeah, they're, and you know, they really give you good coverage on those plus, I keep saying plus, they're not plus size tires. They're just a little bit smaller than that, but very large. Good reflectors right here, 180 millimeter disc brake rotors. Again, Magura, extra big dual piston calipers. We've got extra reinforcement struts on that front fender so it's not gonna rattle as much. A nice pleasure kickstand here with adjustable length. It's great. Good stuff all around. Here's the other side of that ABIS lock. And this one also seems to have a little bit more heavy duty pedals. See how they're slightly bigger and they've got rubber traction? If we come over to these pedals, you just don't get the same, it's just not as big. Tapered head tube here, so 1.125 to 1.5 inches. They have this block lock headset, so you can't oversteer, like it kind of locks and stops itself. It's not gonna flip around. That's kind of nice to have. We've got internally routed cables, just like a lot of the Riese Müller bikes. And this little, it's almost like a paint protector pad or something, this plastic piece, and it shims right up next to the battery pack. Really nice. You can charge the battery on or off the bike, which is great. The LCD display, it has a micro USB charging port built right in, so you can kind of top off your phone while you're riding, or if you have a portable electronic device, maybe an additional light. But it's really easy to control this thing using the remote button pad. There's a lot to say about these things. Chris, is there anything I've missed before we jump into maybe the display and stuff?
No, I think that's most of it. Yep.
Okay, we're having fun with that door again. It's getting excited. So, okay, I want to hit the specs real quick on the motor. It's measuring rear wheel speed with that magnet down there, pedal cadence, and pedal torque over 1,000 times per second. And then the battery pack, this is the Power Pack 500. It's Bosch's new higher capacity battery, 36 volts, 13.4 amp hours. Excellent pack, weighs about 5.8 pounds. So if you took that off the bike, you'd be reducing it down to maybe like 55 pounds, a little bit easier to move around. Powering the bike on is pretty easy. You press the power button right here on the display. Comes to life pretty quickly. Try to get the glare out of there for you. We've got battery capacity, there's 5 little ticks. Speed, right now it's in miles per hour, but I think you can hold reset and I to get into the settings. And then a power meter that sort of surges as you're pedaling, and it gives you feedback on how the motor's functioning. 4 levels of assist, and because this is a CX motor, they've updated it with EMTB mode. So the lowest level's Eco, Tour, and now get ready for it, Sport, and down here it would say EMTB mode and Turbo. So EMTB mode is pretty cool because it gives you full range of power, kind of like none to high, based on how you're pedaling. It's more of a torque sensor, and that means you don't have to look down as much, you don't have to click the buttons as much. It's neat. It's just kind of like a little extra that you get because of the motor type here. You don't get that on the speed motor. And then down here we've got a bunch of other readouts you could cycle through with the eye here or here. So I'm going to show you those. Let's see, odometer, trip distance, clock, max speed, average speed, trip time, and range. And range is really cool because it dynamically calculates based on how full the battery pack is, what level of assist you're in, and how you've been riding over the past mile. So I only weigh 135 pounds. I'm really not putting this thing through too much work. But it's neat to see how far it can go. It says in turbo mode, we're not even full battery, it says at least 18 miles. And then down here in eco mode, 58 miles. So back at the website, I've estimated that on a full battery, you could get between 25 and 75 miles. It all depends on your terrain, the wind, your weight, all that makes a difference. This is kind of a gentle backlighting going on with that display panel. It's pretty easy to read in different environments, and it swivels forward or back so you can reduce glare if you're having an issue with that. There's also a walk mode over here. So on top of that display, if you press this, it says walk assist, and then I hold the plus button. the motor's gonna help us. So let me try that one more time from the other side. So the kickstand, we got the walk assist button, and then hold plus. There we go, look at that. That's awesome. For a bike that's, you know, 61, 62 pounds, not having to push it is kind of nice. And because you can shift this at standstill, I could adjust this and it would make the walk assist push faster or slower. And this is really the other, I guess, the touch point that you think about when you're riding. That's the NuVinci. It's, you know, the N380, so 380 degrees of gear ratio that you have access to, and they have a little infographic. So if you make it look like he's on flat, well, now that's gonna make you go faster because you're not having to climb. And if you are climbing, you wanna go a little slower, you make it look like the little guy is going up a hill, or girl, little guy, little girl. It's pretty intuitive. I like the ergonomic grips. I like just the setup here. You are spending a little bit more money with this thing. This is $4,900, I think $97 or something like that. We're getting very close to the $5,000 mark. Whereas with the base model, and that is not the base model, but imagine the Touring with the 10-speed Shimano drivetrain. That one's $4,329. So there's a bit of a range, but they're all still more expensive. And part of that's because of the high quality reputation that Riese Müller has. You get the 2-year comprehensive Bosch warranty, and you're getting some expensive parts, like in this case, the NuVinci drivetrain, and some of the little extras like the frame lock and stuff. Chris, do you have anything else to chime in with before we take a little ride?
Oh, let's go for a ride.
Okay, I'm gonna hop on this thing and do my thing where I show you how the motor's responding, and then we might ride together, or I can show Chris riding. I usually go up to turbo mode here, just so you can hear the motor. It's like especially loud right now because I'm in a low gear and the motor's spinning at a higher RPM. It spins up to 120 like RPM, rotations per minute, whereas a lot of electric bikes are they'll ease out around 100, or especially when you get to 120. That's one thing that I really like about Bosch, is that it's a little bit more capable that way. And I like to spin, so I feel like I have a full range of power. Maybe you can hear some of the little bit of rattling going on. Definitely appreciating those big tires. I mean, riding no hands on this bike is super easy. Feels very comfortable, it tracks, it's stable, because they're a little bit fatter. And then again, those plastic fenders not gonna get bent, not gonna rust the way that aluminum or steel might. Okay guys, even though you can't see the chainring, it's going to be doing that 2.5 revolutions per every single crank revolution. Hopefully you can hear it, and you can see the belt starting and stopping pretty quickly. You know, Bosch is very efficient. This was designed so that mountain bikers could start and stop on the edge of a trail in really technical terrain. So it's kind of overkill in terms of performance for a bike like this, but that doesn't mean it isn't good to have. So let's do it. Very good, very smooth stopping. I was able to accelerate and shift. Probably didn't hear any, there's nothing to bang because it has that continuously variable transmission. Really nice to be able to do that. And then you have to take a quick stop like we just did. Now I can shift down to that easy gear or ratio, no problem. I don't have to like do any mashing. I just love that. That's the big win on a NuVinci. Okay, so from here you can see the suspension. It's a little bit lower, the air pressure, so that it can actually provide some cushion for me as a lighter weight rider. I'm gonna go over some of these curbs and stuff and just give you an idea. Not bad. You know, it offers what they say 70 millimeters of travel, and it's definitely a nicer suspension. I believe the stanchions are 34 millimeters, a little bit thicker and burlier than some of the cheaper designs. I also like that the light is mounted up here near the headset above the crown, not on the bridge, on the slider portion of the suspension. So, you know, the fender it's kind of going up and down. It want to keep that really close to the fender so you're not getting water splattered everywhere. But the light is suspended, so it's nice and smooth. It's not going to be bouncing and flashing all over the place. Hey, Chris, would you mind hopping on this thing, just giving a third-person perspective?
You got it.
There we go. Yeah, and getting on and off is a lot easier. Might even... You want to hit the lights real quick before we... Yeah, there we go. It's always fun. I want to see the back too. Yeah, that's great. Okay, go for it. And again, this is the size large frame, which is a bit large for Chris. I like being able to lock out that suspension, because if it wasn't bumpy like this, you do lose a little bit of efficiency on bob, and then there's some dive when you brake. Nice, very nice. Maybe part of the reason it's so quiet is that belt drive. I really wasn't putting two and two together. Will you do a stop right here? Very nice, man. One of the other things I didn't mention was the charger. Bosch produces one of my favorite chargers. It only weighs 1.7 pounds. It's very compact, and it puts out 4 amps, whereas a lot of electric bike chargers only put out like 2 amps. When you have a 500 watt-hour battery like this, you want to get back out there, this is going to fill it from empty in about 3.5 hours versus 4.5 or 5.
Right. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, maybe we can just ride together. Why don't you stay on the heavy one, and I'll hop on. What is this one? This is just the NuVinci?
That's just the Nevo NuVinci.
That's right. Okay, so it has the NuVinci. It doesn't have the GT tires and the bigger fenders and stuff. This one has also some really nice fenders. These are Curana. They're kind of plastic with an alloy coating. You know, we've been looking at these frames side by side, and I was noticing it. You know, it looks like there's this gusset right there, kind of a reinforcement welding going on that we don't have over here. I'm not sure if that's because you're on the large frame or because it's the heavy frame.
Right.
But that could be part of what makes this more capable.
Yeah, absolutely. We know that they're, building it pretty heavy duty, so.
Let's do it, man. I'm gonna follow you and we can just head out of here.
Cool.
I think that's about it, you guys. That's the Riese Müller NuVinci GH Heavy with the continuously variable transmission. For the full write-up on this, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Of course, have fun out there. Ride safe. So we're back at the shop. This is the GH that we were looking at a second ago, but I wanted to point out, this is a more traditional. There's white, and we've got another Nevo. So that's the different color schemes that you could come to expect in some of the other Riese Müller bikes. We got that nice bright green on the Roadster. I also wanted to point out that during those ride tests earlier, there were a couple times where it's like I was pedaling hard and then the motor just faded out, and that's because I hit the 20 mile per hour top speed. So a lot of their bikes either have the speed option or the high torque option. With the GH, you can only get the 20 mile per hour. So